So, the biggest lie of all time coming from Disney CEO Bob Iger is that they are all about quieting down the noise over at the Walt Disney Company, that they have no agenda at any division over at Disney at all, when that's completely the opposite. We have seen firsthand what's been going on with Disney and how they are forcing their DEI agenda, diversity, equity, and inclusion is what it stands for, by the way, and how it is shoehorned into everything Star Wars, Marvel, the Disney live-action remakes, in this case, with Snow White 2025 really going in a downward spiral, and exactly why it's actually causing a lot of drama behind the scenes between Rachel Zegler, director Mark Webb, the Disney higher-ups, and among others out there. Let's get into this. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So I think that we could all agree here that we all saw this coming, that Snow White was going to be a production disaster. Heading into multiple reshoots as it is, there have been multiple failed test screenings from the test screeners that took part in watching this atrocity. Alright, we know that Snow White is not going to deliver because not only is it shifting away from the source material of the original Snow White film, Snow White 1937, we also know that Rachel Zegler has been a PR disaster. Now, I pointed this out before. I think that Amanda Stenberg of The Acolyte really outperforms Rachel Zegler as an insufferable actress. Now, focusing on everything else happening here when it comes to Snow White has a lot to do with the current Disney disaster and what's going on with Disney and how they are already losing millions upon millions of dollars with this movie by investing more into this thing that's going to most certainly fail. Now, on top of everything, with all divisions at the Walt Disney Company going through endless setbacks and challenges, one major development now has to do with actress Rachel Zegler and the upcoming Snow White 2025 film. One major development now has much to do with the current issues that Zegler, of course, has been creating, along with the Snow White reshoots after the most recent test screening disaster that is now costing Disney tens of millions of dollars more for Snow White. One crucial update to this situation now involves how Bob Iger and the Disney executives recently took serious action on the current Snow White film, where roughly 25% of the film is now reportedly set for reshoots. This includes a series of songs that were done by Rachel Zegler that test screeners were very unpleased with, along with her acting in multiple scenes that are getting axed. Zegler reportedly is already battling Disney and the Disney heads after they made their quick decision to delete roughly 8 whole scenes of Rachel Zegler that she thought was her best acting in the film, and is already reportedly refusing to take part in some of the reshoots, which is stirring up serious conflicts behind the scenes for this movie that could lead to an extended delay of the film from March of 2025 until June and or August of that year. Now, one scene in particular, get this, that is now officially getting deleted by Disney due to all the test screeners rating the scene as a deal breaker for the film, involved a full-on speech from Snow White herself by Zegler about being a strong woman that came across in a very forced matriarchal way to the audience that actually fell in line with Disney's overall agenda that also involved dialogue shaming men in the actual song about the bandits, who are new characters in the film. In addition to this, Zegler is already beginning to play the race card behind the scenes for why test screeners did not enjoy her acting in the 8 total scenes that are now getting deleted, some of which won't even be reshot, which will slash down the running time of the film by a considerable margin. Another scene, however, that was recently axed that Zegler was furious over involved a full-on scene in which Snow White shames and mocks the male hero named Jonathan, who is the quote-unquote prince, by the way, for trying to save her from falling off a cliff, going on a full set of dialogue that she didn't need a man's help. The Snow White test screening disaster reportedly had many male-shaming moments in the film that led to an unexpected level of backlash from test screeners that only forced Disney executives to actually make some tweaks and changes in the process. However, they are reportedly still forcing their agenda regardless in this film. Now guys, let me just stop here before we move on to the next thing about this. Now, Is this really a big surprise that Snow White 2025 had moments of male shaming by Zegler's Snow White as the character in both dialogue and songs in this movie? Not so shocking there. Now look, we know that they're still going to be forcing their agenda. They just want to tighten it up a bit. They want to change things around here and there. Make no mistake, Disney is still 100% set on doing this. But the reason why there's so much drama happening right now behind the scenes is that Zegler does not want to take part in reshooting and working even more hard on this movie. Now, look, we know that this movie has been finished, alright, technically speaking, since June of 2022. Alright, let that sink in for a moment. They wrapped filming in June to July, technically early July, of 2022. So take yourself all throughout the remainder of that year, all throughout 2023, and now, in the middle of 2024, they are beginning to reshoot 25% of this movie in 8 whole scenes that feature Rachel Zegler. Very extensive scenes, mind you. And this also concerns the 7 Dwarfs, by the way. Let's get into this further. Now, the plan now is to only reshoot and shorten those scenes by a certain margin. Zegler also had many heated arguments and conversations with the director Mark Webb of the film for not even defending her work on Snow White. All of these reshoots are reportedly going to cost Disney another $30 to $35 million, which we explained earlier. It's going to be in the tens of millions of dollar range, which is a massive, of course, amount even for a movie like this. The entire opening scene, ending scene, and other sequences in the middle of the film that are more minor are being redone completely, including new CGI work for the 7 Dwarfs. So I don't know if you guys saw that first look of Snow White where you got a first glimpse of the 7 Dwarfs. It makes one wonder, are they taking the criticism into the equation on how terrible they appear to be? Are they going to be inserting actual dwarves into Snow White? I highly doubt it. Disney's very lazy. They don't want to hire them like that. They don't want to give people like that opportunities. You know, that's why I always like to say that Disney's never genuine when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? They're all about inclusion, but at the same exact time, no, don't put real dwarves in Snow White. Use CGI. So I think it's just very much inauthentic coming from Disney, coming from Bob Iger. They like to lie day in and day out. Bob Iger's always about how there's no agenda here at Disney. It's all about quieting down the noise. Now look, the main reason why they're engaging in reshoots is that this test screening disaster that happened for the upteenth time now is getting to a ridiculous new low, to the point where they had no choice but to engage in reshoots. And that's exactly why this movie, I think, is going to get delayed beyond March of 2025. Expect summer of next year, maybe even later than that, if it even gets released at this point. Maybe it's going to go directly to Disney Plus. There have been conversations about that as well, by the way. We talked about that 6 months ago. But overall, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.